Welcome to your first day of class, everyone. I'm Marketing Communications Manager Daniel Sloan, and on behalf of Trident, I want to say thank you for taking the next step in your educational journey with us. New students often have a lot of questions, and we're here to help. As a way to ease you into our unique student-centered model, we've designed this webinar that will cover all the areas vital to success in your chosen program. Let's introduce today's presenters. First, we have Dr. George Del Hierro. He joined Trident in 2010 and currently serves as the department chair in University College. During his time at Trident, he has worked closely with students in a variety of roles, including academic advising, financial aid, and academic probation support services. Dr. Del Hierro earned a PhD in educational leadership from Trident and has received numerous awards during his time at the university, including honors for communication and collaboration and for student motivation. Next, we have Tasha Cureton. She currently serves as a Student Success Advisor 3 and part-time faculty member. For the past 10 years, she has helped facilitate initiatives to improve student success, namely as Senior Manager in the Center for Student Success. From assisting with orientation to being a member of the Committee of Academic Standards, her passion is to help students reach their academic dreams. She's a Trident alum graduating from the Master of Arts in Education program and is currently a Doctor of Education student. Joining us during the Q&A session will be Christina Sines, a Student Success Advisor 3 in our Center for Student Success. She has held a number of roles during her 8 years at Trident, including Supervisor of Graduate Advisors. Her dedication to meeting student needs is demonstrated through compassionate, active listening, seeking to understand and striving to act in the best interests of her students. Just a few notes before we begin today's session. Although a portion of the webinar has been pre-recorded, you have the option to ask questions at any time. Look for the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Find the questions box, type in your question, hit submit. The FDOC team is behind the scenes right now. Let us know if you have any questions and we'll answer them during the live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Now I'm going to hand things off to Tasha to talk about student success tips. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Daniel, and welcome everybody. We're so excited to have you here. I love Trident University. I've been a student, I teach, and I wear many different hats, and I work with students very closely. So this is an exciting time for you to start on your educational path. Here's some things that we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about tips for success. I'm going to spend some time really digging in there. It can be a little nerve-wracking when you haven't done school for a while, or it's just a totally new environment, and so we want to make that transition as smooth and comfortable as possible for you. Dr. Del Hierro is going to talk about academic writing. That tends to be one of the main concerns with students when they're coming back to school is, how do I write? How do I get back in the mode of formatting my paper? And then we're going to talk about career and networking support. But I would ask everyone to stick around for what I think is one of my favorite parts of the webinar, which is the questions section. We always have great questions, and there's a great student success story at the end, so stay tuned. Now we're going to talk a little bit about just tips for success and moving into your classes for the first time. So whether you've been away for years, maybe this is your first class in college, or maybe you're just transitioning right into a different school, we want you to be confident. Everyone here has a different walk of life, and you all bring different perspectives. Whether you're a stay-at-home parent, maybe you're a veteran or advanced in your career, or maybe like one of my 89-year-old students who came back and got a master's degree, you're in another season of life and you're ready to move forward. So what I mean by that is, know that your perspective will enhance the conversation and your discussions in your class, and you are worthy to be here. So feel free to ask questions. Know that you're supported. We're going to talk about your support team. Get to know your professors and peers. As faculty members on here, we often see students a little nervous to reach out to us, and there's no need for that. We want you to feel connected as a university and between you and the student. You as the student, my apologies. We're going to talk a lot about time management and long-term academic planning, but most importantly, have fun And this will help with your motivation. This is something, if you ever get stuck or just feel like things are difficult, that's when it's time and a trigger should go off that you need to reach out and connect with us. And we are here and we genuinely want to help. So let's start by talking about time management. And this is something very near and dear to my heart. As Danny Sloan said, I got my master's degree at Trident University. At the time, I was a manager. I had a very extremely premature baby. I was in the office a lot and managing life and work, and I wanted to get my master's degree. So I can relate to trying to balance it all. One of my rules was when I got home from work, I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch. And the reason I say that is because it is so easy, especially these days, to just sit down, watch some TV, or get on your phone and just kind of veg out. By staying off the couch, my rule was then I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch until I went and did my homework. So that kind of comes up to our first point, which is create a time management plan. This might be new for some of you, or some of you might live and die by your planner. And so if this is new for you, think about it this way. You're creating a plan to succeed. When I see students not creating a plan, sometimes I challenge them to do so, and usually they come back and are able to submit more on time. They're able to figure out when they want to go to school for themselves. No one here is telling you to go to school at what time, right? Usually you have a certain amount, whether if it's your CERT program, you have a week, or if it's your master's, associates, or bachelor's, you have 2 weeks to do your module. And so anytime within there, you need to set aside a few nights or maybe mornings, whenever you think best and you have time dedicated to make that your school time. So when your friends call and they miss you because they haven't seen you in a while, you've got schoolwork to do and you want to plan your life around that. Now, Trident is all about flexibility too. And so consider weekends, holidays, birthdays, vacations. We want you to have a life, but you're now fitting this new component into your schedule. And if you don't make time for it, there just won't be time for it. And so I love to see a student with a plan. If that's something you can do today, get out your planner. I use my planner here. I have a wall calendar that you can see here in the back, and I have a digital calendar. So I am all about scheduling your schoolwork. And in the beginning, you may want to go in every day for even 15 minutes just to get a sense of what do you need to accomplish the things and to kind of feel like you're in the rhythm of school. Because I always tell students, in your first few sessions, always take classes back to back so that you can get into a good rhythm. Because once you get out of that rhythm, sometimes it's hard to jump back in. So write down your due dates. The bachelor's and master's and associate's classes are usually due on Sunday nights. So I would always say try and do your first discussion the first week of the module and your peer responses the following week. If you have questions about this, we can talk more in the Q&A section as well. And make adjustments to your schedule, but I think the key is to just have a plan, right? Don't get discouraged when you fall behind. Again, as I mentioned before, that's kind of that trigger. If you're falling behind, you may think, oh, well, I don't want to give excuses, or this is just on me. Trust me, we understand what it's like to be adults and to have things come up. And so we can't help you if we don't know what's going on. And it's not to judge you. It's not to be upset with you. It's to say, hey, that's okay. Look, you still have time to do this, or maybe we can help you with this option. Again, there are options and exceptions if needed. And that's something that there are eligibility requirements, but we want to help you with. So let's talk a little bit about who you're going to be reaching out to in that support group. When you log into your student portal today on the homepage of mytlc.trident.edu, you will see 2 photos, and those are consider that kind of like your support team, right? There's going to be your student finance advisor, and there's going to be your student success advisor. Hey, maybe some of you guys have my face on there. You never know. I do support a lot of students, and I love it. And so in addition to that, right now, if you've just started your program, you are working with your admissions advisor. You've probably built, hopefully you built a good rapport with them. And once they get you all set up in class and started in class, within the first 2 weeks, they're going to transition you over to someone like myself, a student success advisor, who is then going to become your point of contact. I'd always encourage you to save their phone number, note when they email you. I always try to only email my students when it's something important that I want them to know. And so just kind of start to get in the groove of checking your emails every day, or we text and we call. So, and then finally, the other piece to that puzzle is your instructor. Now that will change from session to session, but they don't know what they don't know, right? And so if you're not submitting work and they don't know what's going on with you, they're just assuming maybe they're not interested in class, or you just don't want to leave any room for assumption. So I would always say, even just email your teacher and give them an update about what's going on, or if you have any questions, or maybe there's something that you like about the class. So just know that although you're alone in your room or at your desk doing your work, you're not alone. You are part of this bigger Trident family. And so I really hope that when you make it to our commencement and you watch the video or you attend in person, that you can see that you are a part of a much bigger, huge Trident family. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of our resources. You may be wondering, okay, what is there available for me that's going to help me transition and getting started in school? So in your mytlc.trident.edu portal, there is across the top several options, and one of them on the far right says My Resources. Here you'll see a list of resources available to you. Math and writing tend to be a big thing that students are concerned about, rightfully so. Usually students will be nervous about managing their time and writing and doing the academic piece. If you can manage your time, you've got half of the battle won. Now here's the resources that could help. We do use APA formatting as our general formatting style for the school for papers. Now, it is important to note that that's what we stick with, but it's depending on your assignments, it might not be required. Like in a math class, they might not ask that you do APA. We are in the transition right now. Some classes are using edition 6 and some 7. That is something that is in the process of transitioning. So I'd always ask your teacher, but the key is I would encourage you to start to get to know that. A quick Google search and you will find so much information on that. But don't be worried, don't be overwhelmed by it. Learning is a gradual process, right? And then the Turnitin guide, which is something to kind of help you ensure that your work shows as your original work. The next thing that we're going to talk about is tutoring services. So if you see on this next slide that you are in one of these classes, English 101, Math 101, Statistics and Math 201, Health Statistics, Operations Management, Finance, or any of the TUX courses, there is something, and you'll see on here on the screen, that's called free tutoring. What this is we've partnered with tutor.com. And so if you're like me, you stay up late and you do your homework after the kids are in bed and everything's done. And so you can access a tutor anytime, 24/7. And it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes to connect, but it's a great option if you're just feeling like, I just need to ask a few questions, or am I doing this right? So I'd encourage you to use that. The next is one of my favorite options or resources, because it's something that I help facilitate. Every day I'm in this orientation helping new students answer questions, have discussions. So if you have not done that as of today, please go in and before you go into your class, complete the online orientation. You'll have access to it for up to 6 months after you start your program, but it's by far the best way to go in and learn the portal, learn the classroom, and how you can navigate, how you can find your teachers, how you can participate in discussion. You can practice submitting work to make sure that you do it correctly. And I'm in there every day answering questions and just making sure people feel comfortable. And usually the feedback is that, oh my gosh, this is what helped me and overcome that hump and feel comfortable. Next, we're going to talk about just kind of first steps to do. I've kind of laid the groundwork now, but go in, log in to your class, do your orientation, and take a tour of your class. There's not much that you can click on that's going to break your class, or there's really not anything that could break it. But sometimes people are a little nervous. Just click around. There's different ways to access different information. And so the more time you spend in the class, the more you're going to feel comfortable. Look over the syllabus, read the assignments, and post your introduction. I always say the introduction is the easiest part. You literally just go in and say, hi, this is me, a little bit about me. And then you get to read about your peers and see that you might have a lot in common or something to learn from the peers in class. Ask questions and develop your time management plan. So that's kind of like the pre-gaming for the class, right? You want to make sure you've read the syllabus, you've read everything, but don't feel overwhelmed. I always felt in college, like the first week of class, that it was a lot of information, but then over time, you get reminders, you check your schedule, and you're doing good. And so develop that plan and check in with your advisor. I always, whenever I see a student that I don't know, I call them. I'm like, I need to know you because we haven't spoken yet, and I truly want to know them and what their goals are. So in summary today, you're going to log in, you're going to complete your orientation, you're going to introduce yourself in your class, and then I would encourage you by midweek, usually by Wednesday, to submit at least your Module 1 discussion post. That's different than your introduction. That's an actual assignment discussion post. Keep in mind, teachers are bound to a rubric. What is a rubric? It is a list of criteria that the student needs to meet for each assignment. And so you can see even in your class, okay, if I submit it on time, I'm going to get like full points, or, you know, they require this many words, so I get this many points. So always look at your rubrics. For all of our assignments, every module is 3 assignments. You're going to have your case assignment, your SLP, and your discussion post. Most classes have 4 modules. I think pretty much all of them. And sometimes your SLP might be a quiz or a paper. Your case assignment typically is a paper or an activity in that regard. Get to know your professors, set up your work area, and just be ready to go. And I would say as soon as you get your first discussion in, try to write a paper maybe by the weekend so that you don't have your case assignment, your SLP the second week of class. Or if you do both of them in the second week, it's no problem. But just make sure that you kind of know each day what you're going to be working on and submitting. And so my last advice is just really reach out, and we don't want you to feel alone. I always tell my students, I am full of the most random information. And so you don't know unless you ask. Maybe you can't find a resource in the library. Maybe you aren't sure how to set up text to get a grade notification. We can help you with that. So that being said, I'm excited for you. Hopefully that this information was helpful. I'm going to turn the time over to Dr. Del Hierro, and he's going to discuss one of the topics that I think is really crucial, and get ready to take some good notes. We're going to talk about academic writing. Dr. Del Hierro, I turn the time over to you.
On behalf of the faculty, I just want to extend my warmest welcomes to all of you. It's always the most exciting time of the month for us to welcome in a brand new crop of leaders into the Trident family. And so we all look forward to interacting with you, getting to know you, and seeing what great things you accomplish in and out of the classroom. So this section focuses on academic writing. It's one of the points of concern for some students, especially who have been out for a while. It causes some anxiety, and so the goal of these next couple slides are just to relieve some of that anxiety and give you some direction to build momentum. So Michael mentioned it, but these first couple days, it's going to be really imperative for you to get the wheels going. And so I hope to provide a broad overview of what your faculty will expect of you with writing, and to relieve some of that anxiety for you. This first slide is just it's meant to frame your mindset for what the expectations are within academic writing, and why and how is it different from what you might be used to within your military experience or business experience. So the three key differences that I want you to think about between business and / military and academic writing are the goals of writing, the process of writing, and voice. And so when you're in the military, so the first one is the goals of writing. If you're going to graduate from an accredited institution, you're expected to have a high degree of written and oral communication skills. And so that is kind of what we're helping prepare you for upon graduation. So the first point that I want you to think about is the goal of writing. So when you're in a business environment and when you're in a military environment, your goal of writing, the only purpose you're writing is for mission accomplishment and to accomplish objectives. The difference within what you're going to find in an academic environment is that the goal of writing is to help you become a better communicator. And so there are some steps and some areas that we look for as your faculty to help you become a better thinker and to help you become a better writer, a more effective writer. So for example, within the military and in business, you're writing to accomplish this objective as quickly and efficiently as possible. And when you're in your academic classes, we're looking for your logic and rational thought development of your ideas. So sometimes this comes out when you're answering questions as maybe a 1 to 2 sentence or a 1 to 3 sentence reply to answer a question, because you're in that mindset of answering the question and giving the conclusion as quickly and efficiently as possible. But that's not the only thing. That's actually not the most important thing that your faculty is looking for. It's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for the reasons why and how you came to those conclusions, your critical thinking skills, and your logic and your rational thought development. And so that takes more time and it takes more effort to lay out those arguments and to do the research from different sources and integrate the background readings into your experience to support your conclusion. So your faculty member is not just looking for the answer. We're not just looking for the conclusion. We're looking for your reasons why, the thinking and the evidence behind it, and your logic and your rational thought development. The second area of that's a challenge or the difference between military and business writing versus academic writing is the process of writing. So when you're in a business environment or you're in a military environment, your superior would give you a command or an objective to write up a memo or write this up or write that up, do a report. You pass it off to your superior edits it, adds a couple things, passes it off to their superior, and before a decision is made, there's 2 or 3 hands that have touched this document. That's different than what you're going to find here and what your experience will be in an academic environment, because you are the single author of this document, of this assignment. So you have to go through the brainstorming. You have to go through the outlining and the editing and the drafting and the formatting, and all those things take time. And so you have to consider those elements when you develop your time management plan for these classes. The third key difference is voice. So if you haven't noticed, especially in the military, you're big on uniforms. I mean, you're dressing the same, you're often talking the same, and sometimes that comes out in your writing that comes out in your writing. And so that causes some issues because it raises some concerns for academic integrity issues. So we want you to be aware of that. Your instructor will be looking for your independent understanding of these concepts. And so we're looking for you to paraphrase different ideas from a variety of different readings and background sources. We're looking for you to summarize some of these ideas in your own words. So quotations are great, but your instructor will care more about your understanding of these concepts. And that is different than stripping out a quotation and sticking it in your paper. It's fundamentally different, and it takes a lot more critical thinking and a lot more time and effort to summarize these different ideas in your own words and put them in. But that is what your instructor is looking for. And if you consider these things, you will reap the benefits of this program upon graduation, and I promise you will become a more effective communicator and contributor to your organizations. The next slide is just meant to give you a general overview of academic writing structure. And so this is not an all-inclusive slide. These are just some tips that as an instructor, I see students kind of missing these points. And so as a writer that you may not have as much experience in an academic environment, or maybe you've been out for a while, I hope that this gives you some direction to get the wheels going and build up that momentum early on. And so there are more resources, more in-depth resources like the ones that Michael mentioned within the Writing Center and our resources drop down. So please make use of that. But here I just want to frame your mind into what we're looking for in terms of structure and content. So there's basically going to be three main parts of your essay: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And so your introduction is kind of like any presentation you may give, like a PowerPoint presentation. You always have a first slide that tells your audience what you're going to be talking about and why it's important. And so that's your introduction paragraph. You're just going to be basically presenting an overview of what you're going to be talking about and why it's important. So I want you to think about this because there's an important statement in your introduction that your instructors look for, and it's called a thesis statement. Essentially, this tells your reader what the purpose is of your essay. And so a great way for you to know what your instructor is looking for is to look at the module learning outcomes. So every module, you have 4 modules. Every module will have learning outcomes on the home page. So every module will have learning outcomes for every assignment on the home page. That is basically what your instructor is looking for, and that is what your instructor will be looking for or measuring your understanding of those concepts. And those are great statements to put into your introduction paragraph, and to help ground you when you're answering these questions. So in addition to the learning outcomes, your assignments will have like 3 or 4 questions that you have to answer. Use those learning outcomes as like the lenses to view those questions. So address the learning outcomes through answering the questions. So consider that with your thesis statement development, and definitely make use of those module learning outcomes because they give you what your instructor is looking for on each assignment. From there, you got your body paragraphs. And so the best recommendations I could give you when you're first getting going in your writing is to break up those questions into sections and subsections using headers and subheaders. So just like on a PowerPoint presentation, you have headers that tell your reader or tell your audience what this slide is about. Same thing within your essay. Include a header, include subsections within that make it overtly obvious to your instructor that you are addressing this part of the assignment. This is the key term that you're going to be addressing. So not only does it provide some structure for you for your essay, but it also makes it very obvious for your instructor that you are hitting all those points within your assignment. And so again, going back to the content of your assignment? Is your instructor looking for the conclusion? Yeah, sure, we're looking for your answer to the question, but again, we're looking for the reasons why. And so when you draft your paragraphs, I kind of want you to think about aiming for about 4 to 7 sentences. Trust me, nobody's going to be counting your sentences out, but I think it's a good guideline for you, because if you're going below that 4-sentence mark, then you're probably being a little bit too brief or concise, and you're not exploring the topics or discussing the topics in detail. So make sure you're going back and citing some evidence from your background readings. Again, we're looking for APA citations and some evidence, some objective research and evidence to support your conclusions. And if you're going above that 7-sentence mark, then you're probably rambling on too much, or you could make that into a more concise structure to better highlight your ideas, or you just need to break up that longer paragraph into some more paragraphs, into maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. But you don't want to go on and on a page and a half of text, of block text. You really want to break that up into small sections and subsections, include those headers, and make it really easy for your instructor to pick out those main points. If you're struggling, again, I talked about the thesis statements above, but if you're struggling in terms of how to start a paragraph and what your instructor is looking for, I always mention these points right here. Define the key term, explain the application of the key term to the assignment, and then discuss why the concept is important to either the module learning outcome or just the class in general, specifically and with specific focus to the module learning outcome. So those 3 points, I think if you cover those, that should get you to that 4 to 7 mark. Include some evidence in there to support your ideas, and that's a great way of just getting started. This is not going to be the perfect way. I can promise you that your instructor will give you feedback, but it's really important for you to take that feedback and then just continue to build upon it. Your instructor is not looking for perfection. In fact, you shouldn't expect that of your instructor. We're here to make you better communicators and better critical thinkers. That's our value. That's our objective. And so when you explore these concepts in a variety of different ways by defining and explaining and discussing the value of these concepts, you're in essence exploring these concepts from a variety of different ways, and you're thinking about them in different ways. So consider that when you're drafting up your assignments. And then the conclusion paragraph is the last part of your assignment, and it really just reflects, it's just kind of like a reflection of your introduction. Your introduction is telling your audience what you're going to be talking about, why it's important, and your conclusion is going to be basically stating what you already have talked about and why that's important. And so they're mirror images of each other. Again, this is not an all-inclusive, these are not all-inclusive suggestions. It's just simply to get the wheels going, and over time you're going to receive more detailed feedback from your instructor to become a better written communicator, a better writer. And so I just highly suggest that you accept that feedback, and with willing and open arms. So I hope that helps. Again, refer back to the resources under the writing resources under the resources tab if you need some more in-depth advice. Always reach out to your instructor, because we love hearing from you and we love to support you in this process. Honestly, it is our honor to serve you. So please make use of us.
Thank you, Dr. Del Hierro. We also have resources to help students outside of the classroom. First, there's Alumni Fire, which is for all current students and Trident alumni. The URL is on your screen now. This is a place where you can connect with other students, alumni, faculty, and staff to get advice on your education, career, and more. For more information, reach out to alumni@trident.edu. We also have Career One Stop, which is a source for career skills development, such as resume reviews, interview practice, and more. This can be accessed on the front page of your student portal right after you log in. If you have any questions on that, reach out to Trident for careers@trident.edu. That's Trident, the number 4, careers@trident.edu. And now we're going to move on to today's Q&A session. Hey, welcome to the new session, everyone. Just give us a moment till we can get things set up for the Q&A session. As a reminder, if you have any questions, you can submit them in the question box, which can be found on the right-hand side of your screen. Just go about halfway down, you'll see a question box, type your question there, hit submit, and we'll handle them. Unfortunately, Dr. Del Hierro is not with us today. He is taking a well-deserved vacation. And on the panel today, we have Christina Sines, Student Success Advisor 3 in our Center for Student Success, and Nicole Macias. I have to apologize, I can't recall your title off the top of my head, but she is one of our most experienced admissions advisors. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Cool. So first question, this one is for you, Christina. It's about the orientation, and this one seems to come up a lot. Is the orientation graded, and when is that due?
So good question. So the orientations are completely optional. We have them both for doctoral and for Fastrac. So there are like practice assignments in there, and so they're completely optional to do also, but they can be very beneficial because they have they're very practical. So there isn't an exact due date per se because the class doesn't technically end, but I would just say that you would want to, since today's the first day of class for your, the regular class, then wrapping up orientation should probably be the priority now, so that you can just be focusing solely on the class that's starting today. So yeah, wrapping it up probably is best now, but you can always go back, and students have access to the orientations for up to 6 months at least. So there's time to go back if there's something you need to refer to later on.
Okay, thanks. And to be clear, it's if students don't do the orientation, although it's highly advised that you do, but if they don't do it, there isn't necessarily a negative grade impact.
Right. Yeah, it's an ungraded course, so there wouldn't be any penalty, but definitely even for students who done the bachelor's and going into master's or master's to doctoral. So there usually seems to be something that, especially if you've been out a couple years, there's still something beneficial to check in on, since things do change from time to time in the portal.
Okay, great. Yeah, we do have a nice mix of attendees today, covering associate, bachelor's, and master's.
Cool.
And next question, I'm gonna send this one to start this one out to with Nicole. And if I did an introduction in the orientation, should I reintroduce myself in the class, and then we can go to Christina after Nicole?
Sure. So orientation is wonderful. Typically, I want to say not all students do attend orientation. So first off, I would definitely go ahead and introduce yourself to the class. It could just be a quick hello. My name is. Sometimes we're maybe just to get to know you. Where are you located, or maybe what's your previous education history, just so other colleagues in the class can kind of understand. Get to know you a little bit better. But yes, orientation, not all students do attend. So it is really nice to just kind of give a brief info or an introduction on the class roster, just to say hello and let everybody know who you are. Yeah, and the only thing I would add is that the orientation is like all of the students. So it's like all of the associates, bachelor's, masters, all kind of combined into one group. And the orientation, it's not segmented out. So the first class is obviously the opportunity to get to know people who are in your usually in your program, or at least have the same first class. So those are people that you would probably, I mean, it's good to build relationships either way, but these are people that are probably going to be more, you'll see more often in the regular classes, the required ones.
Great. Yeah, Nicole and Christina both raised a very, very good point about just networking, because keep in mind that a lot of you have some experience coming under your belt, even coming in as an associate student, and your career focus. So that's a great way to network with people who might be in the same field as you, might have similar contacts, or might be in the same town, because we do have a lot of military students, and you never know, you might be in, I don't know, Hampton Roads area and find out that one of your classmates lives right down the street.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, next question, this one, let's see, this one is for you, Christina, and as a student who's been out of school for a while, I'm not very comfortable with writing. Are there resources available to help me out with writing, say, understanding APA format, or will professors work with me if I want to submit a paper early?
Yeah, so this is a good question and definitely a common one, especially for, like you said, students who've been out of school for a little while. So we do have a lot of resources for students who need to get, up to speed with APA format. And looking in the portal, there is a section called More, like when you're within the classroom. And so More and My Resources will then give you like this whole drop-down menu of options. And so some of them are like writing resources, and then other ones are like where you can get a connection with the tutor. So there's a number of resources in there, and so it's just more or less determining on what exactly you need help with. Plus, most of the assignments are, you can find like a template in the classroom, or like, so you can get the format already set up ahead of time. So then it's just a matter of putting in the in-text citations and stuff like that. So, but most of the resources are all accessible to the student from the moment that they're enrolled in the class, so they could start to look over the materials.
Well, and I actually have it up on the screen right now. So we don't usually do this, but
Oh, okay.
be a little bonus today. I'll show
Yeah.
it. It just happened. It just happened to be there, so I thought, why not?
Yeah, I think there's a lot there, so I think sometimes just like seeing what is probably the, what is the most important. But My Resources, over there on the right.
Yeah, right here. See.
Danny's class,
And
because he's a student. Check him out.
And yeah, and actually, let's take this opportunity to maybe go through some of the key things here, because, like I said, we've never done this before, but this might be helpful. So this is what Christine was just referring to, the My Resources.
Right. So the writing the workshop, and then there's a style guide. Then I think another important one is the Turnitin guide too, because that's going to like talk about, how the Turnitin drop boxes work, basically to be able to show like, how soon the report comes up, how to interpret the report, so that you could see like how similar your stuff is to what other people and students have posted online. And then there's a Trident APA Basics, so that's going to give like the basic, and we are using, I think for the most part, APA 7, transitioning out of version 6. So I think most students now should be probably using 7. And then then it's I think the resources areas is gonna vary depending on like what level you are at. So they're gonna be, master students are gonna get more master's level, doctoral is gonna get doctoral, and so it's gonna cater to what your degree level is on the resources.
Great, great, thanks, Christine. And Nicole, are there any other resources on this page that you would really want a new student to zero in on?
So besides the APA, I was also a student here at Trident. I remember my first day as it was yesterday, but a few things that I always loved I always tell my students, if you want to scroll down just a little bit, the tools, and there we go, the tools and links. I always want to make sure the university email is set up. Make sure that you get your emails. Sometimes the professor is always sending out some either reminding information, reminders due, modules going to be due at a certain date, or if you have any questions, kind of sending out their contact information. So if you could click on that university email there really quickly, if you always just want to head to the primary, okay, that's okay. If you can see, but anyhow, in students, you'll always click on the university email in your tools and link box and make sure that your primary is set to your whatever is best for your email. So whether that be student email, whether that be a work email, whether that be a Gmail that you can see all the time, just make sure that that's always set up there. That's actually, I'm so sorry, that's to the email forwarding. That's the email forwarding button that you'll want to do.
Yeah, but I think
And
both
then,
of them are good though.
yeah,
Having
both are
email
really
forwarding
great.
and having the university email set up
Yeah,
is
just to make
way to
sure
go.
that you have that information sent to you. But other than that, the email forwarding is wonderful. Again, the orientation will always be there, just like Christina says, typically throughout your class. So if you have any questions in regards to, how do I get back into finding a journal or magazine? Sometimes it's there for you in the orientation, which is really nice. So just kind of circling back to the orientation, which it will always be there, is really great. Other than that, we have, like you said, that support center right there. Everyone has their student success advisor and a student finance advisor. Our team is wonderful. So if you ever need any assistance, you can contact your student finance advisor, contact your student success advisor, or admissions here. We'll be happy to assist you if you have any questions.
Yeah, and to add on that, keep in mind that, they work as a team. Like, for example, like my experience as a student, I know Amari and Claudia are collaborating. They're collaborating with professors, so everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, those are nice exercises. We're gonna have to add that to future first ed classes. So
yeah, I think so.
Next question. Let me quickly scan this. Let's see. Okay, actually, this is a good question, and I'm gonna want to get both Christina and Nicole's insight on this. So let's start with Christina. Question I have is, what steps, guidelines, and rules to success in school that would help all of us become successful towards staying on task with graduation? I think asking
what's the best way
what steps, guidelines, or rules would you recommend? Because okay, I'm not going to read the second sentence because just out of respect for university policies.
Oh, okay.
Because some students may have issues with time management or taking notes or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so it seems like somewhat of a broad question, but I think overall I kind of see where I guess I hope I understand where we're going at. So I would say, so it's mainly the classes here are mainly focused on time management. And so I think for most students, if you come from another school, you come from somewhere else where it was attendance taking, or where you were required to show up at a certain time, then when you come to Trident, it can be we are pretty like flexible, and so that flexibility then also leads to where you need to make time. So I think it's it's great to have flexibility, but I just always tell my students, like, the number one thing you have to do is follow through. If you set plans, you follow through, and even when other stuff comes up, you try your best to still hold the schedule, because life will inevitably continue to happen. And so I usually tell my students, like, try to have a game plan, because then if something comes up, you always got to have like a plan B. And so the best way is to really be looking at the calendar, looking at the due dates, and then maybe getting on the phone with the success advisor and just saying, like, so do I have it down right, that when I should be prioritizing, like always doing the discussion first, then getting into the other assignments, case or SLP. But I think it's about establishing like what works for you, because probably if you talk to 10 different students, everybody probably does approaches it, probably some similarities, but then probably also some differences. And so I think that's what's kind of the beauty of it, is that you can really tailor it to your needs and how you learn, because really that's what's going to make it work for you. And so I just would say, just getting in tune with the resources, and then just reaching out, like just trying not to always figure it out on your own, because well, most of us here that we've been here a while, so we definitely know kind of the tips and the tricks that work. So I usually just try to tell students what I know, and yeah, I mean, and then what do you recommend? And just probably staying continuously enrolled to graduate. So if you take breaks, then obviously it's going to take longer to graduate. So consistency is key. to
Mhm.
finishing anything in general, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and Nicole,
Especially
like, to add another layer to the
Oh,
question, we have a lot of with the same question, but maybe through the lens of our military students who might spend time in the field, or students who may have ADA concerns. How would you answer that question for them?
Sure.
oh,
So
well,
go ahead,
yeah.
Christina. Go
I'll
ahead.
take the ADA stuff real quick, just because I'm one of the ADA coordinators here at Trident. So
Sorry about that.
yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, ADA is just, anytime if you do feel like you want to just talk to somebody here at Trident, ask whoever your contact is, whether you're working with admissions, finance, whoever the case may be. There's only 3 of us that do medical accommodations here. And so, we can definitely just talk to a student if they're just interested in seeing how we can accommodate you. Don't necessarily have to disclose everything personal, because we're very respectful of that. But we do have ways to accommodate students, and so that's the number one thing, is to know that you can have a safe place to disclose, and then your professors don't have to know your diagnoses, you don't have to disclose them. So we definitely want to protect our students so that they can feel supported, yet also, uh, you know, feel like they can have, those accommodations when needed. But yeah, go. I know that there was another part to it, but the ADA caught my attention. So, uh,
And just really quick, Christina, that was wonderful. Just all of our new students and even returning students, sometimes we feel like, okay, we understand the material, or maybe we'll just submit it without really knowing and taking it all in. It's okay. We are here to help every student. As long as, if you just always reach out to your professor. That's my biggest key to all of our students, is don't be shy. We are here. Please reach out to your professor if you have any question, whether that be big or small. That is our job, is to go ahead and assist you through all of your needs, to make sure that you understand and comprehend the information given. Any ways that we can assist with, writing or anything like that, we will be here to help. So just as like Christina was mentioning, the time management for, staying consistent, but please going ahead and always reaching out. Sometimes that can be scary for students, but I just want to reassure everybody, please don't be nervous or scared. I know that we don't see everybody on a day-to-day basis, but it's okay to reach out, and we're here to help throughout the way. So please go ahead and do so.
yeah, absolutely.
Great. Great. Yeah, thank you for
What
the very.
George would want us to, Dr. Del Hierro, he would definitely want us to say, reach out, the faculty's here to support y'all. And so I think that's an important part for
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we send out Dr. Del Hierro's contact information, because he really enjoys working with students one-on-one, especially those who may have some anxieties about writing. It's nothing to worry about. We all have our little anxieties in school. Quant used to be mine. And there's another resource that we'd like to share as well. I just put it in the chat box. It's a good writing resource and APA. It's a Purdue OWL. You'll hear that mentioned a lot. And
yeah, it's referenced a lot of times in the classrooms too, I think.
Yeah, and I guess the cap things off before we end with the student success story is regarding Purdue OWL. Start with Christina, and Nicole, if you have anything to add, you can follow up. Are there specific things on there that you would direct students to that are going to help them out when it comes to their writing?
I don't know per se. It's mainly like it's embedded. It's sort of in the curriculum of the classes. So when it's something that's relevant to that specific course, I would say is when it's something that I would refer a student to about it. But I don't know, there isn't like common areas, because I think we're also building out a lot of our other resources too right now, so that it's not just like external, but more internal support. So I think that's a lot of the direction we're going in. But yeah, there could be something I'm not aware of though. What do you have, Nicole?
I don't have too much on that
Okay.
per se, but I know that just like Danny, when you were showing in our TLC portal, really that was what I used a lot, was the APA format in your portal, the information used that way. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't go towards the Alfred. I do see that it is, it's there a lot as like more of a guide. But what I've noticed a lot during my classes here at Trident was really just really paying attention to the professor's feedback, and then adjusting accordingly and reaching out. That was one thing that really helped me as a student here, was really just focusing on, am I doing the basics as was listed on the portal, and then any feedback that was given to me, I would just go ahead and fix it and reach out to that. But I don't have anything else to say on the Purdue site.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, great feedback. And I did post a link there, kind of just general research and citation for APA on Purdue OWL. And I'll cap the Q&A off by saying that Nicole's point about feedback is very good. I mean, as a student, what I do is every piece of feedback I get from my professor, whether it's, as part of a paper that's submitted back to me at Dropbox or through email, I save all of it because I never know when it's going to be valuable. And there's things that I considered not saving, I saved anyway, and it ended up being very valuable. And if and I think most of our professors too, if you feel like you want more feedback, don't be afraid to ask them, because they're here to improve and you're here to improve. So if you have any more questions, you feel free to submit them, because we'll collect all the questions, and anything outstanding, we'll reach out to you afterwards. I want to thank Christina and Nicole again for their assistance, and we're going to end things a little differently today with a student success video from one of our master's grads. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great session, and look forward to seeing you on graduation day.
Yeah. Have a great session, everybody.
I've been a registered nurse for 15 years, and I started my career in the Philippines, where I also graduated with my bachelor's degree in nursing, or my BSN. Now, back in 2018, I didn't know if I still wanted to continue or finish my master's degree. I was pregnant with my youngest child, but also my workload has doubled up as a case manager, and I was also taking care of my eldest son. I did start some prerequisites. However, I wanted to find a fully online school, and Trident University International was able to provide that. The professors I had were knowledgeable, they were kind, they were understanding, and most importantly, they were able to understand what it's like to juggle work, school, and family life. I finished in 17 months with my master's degree in health sciences, majoring in public health, and I graduated with my summa cum laude. For someone like me, who graduated in the Philippines, who was foreign born and foreign educated initially, I got a great lead.
Trident alumna, forged by the tip of the spear.